he abandoned my sister at the altar and called her boring online. A year later, she was making six figures while he was unemployed and alone. My sister's wedding was supposed to be the happiest day of her life. She had the dress, the venue, the flowers, 200 guests. Everything was perfect until her groom vanished an hour before walking down the aisle. No call, no text, just gone. I watched her collapse in that white dress, mascara running down her face, while everyone outside whispered and took photos. I thought that was rock bottom. Then he went online and made it 1,000 times worse. But what happened next changed everything. The day started normal. My sister Claire was getting her hair done in the bridal suite. She was glowing. She'd been with her fiancé Derek for 4 years, and they seemed solid. He worked in marketing. She was a teacher. They had this cute apartment, a dog, the whole thing. Everyone thought they were perfect together. I was her maid of honor, so I was with her all morning. We were laughing, taking pictures, drinking champagne. Her dress was beautiful, like the kind you see in magazines. She looked incredible. The ceremony was set for 3 in the afternoon. Around 2, Derek's best man came rushing into the bridal suite looking panicked. He said Derek wasn't in the groom's room. Nobody could find him. His phone was going straight to voicemail. Claire laughed it off at first. She said he probably just needed some air. Grooms get nervous, right? But then, 15 minutes passed. Then, 30. The wedding coordinator kept coming and asking if we'd heard anything. The answer was always no. By 2:45, Claire was pacing. Her hands were shaking. She kept trying to call him. Nothing. I went outside to check the parking lot and his car was gone. That's when I realized this wasn't nerves. He'd actually left. I went back inside and I had to tell her. I had to look my sister in the eyes on what was supposed to be her wedding day and tell her the groom was gone. She just stared at me like she couldn't process what I was saying. Then she started hyperventilating. My mom had to go tell the guests the ceremony was postponed. People started pulling out their phones immediately. Within 20 minutes, it was all over social media. Photos of the empty altar, posts about how the groom ran. Claire saw some of them. She locked herself in the bathroom and wouldn't come out for an hour. When she finally did, we got her out of the dress and into regular clothes. Her makeup was ruined from crying. We took her home. She didn't say a word the entire drive. She just stared out the window. For the next 3 days she barely moved. She stayed in bed, didn't eat, barely slept, just cried and stared at the ceiling. I stayed with her the whole time. I didn't know what to say, because what do you say when someone's entire future just explodes? Then on day 4, Derek posted on Instagram a long caption about how he'd made a tough decision, but it was the right one. He said Claire was a great person, but she was too boring for him. He said he realized at the last minute he couldn't spend his life with someone who didn't excite him. He said leaving was the hardest thing he'd ever done, but he had to follow his heart. He made himself sound like the hero of his own story, like he'd done something brave. He called my sister boring in front of thousands of people. Claire saw the post. She read every word, and I watched something break inside her all over again. She wasn't just heartbroken anymore. She was humiliated. That's when I decided I wasn't going to let him get away with this. I started investigating, because you don't just wake up on your wedding day and decide your fiancé is boring. Something else was happening, and I was going to find out what. I went through Derek's social media, every photo, every comment, every tagged post. That's when I decided I wasn't going to let him get away with this. I started investigating, because you don't just wake up on your wedding day and decide your fiancé is boring. Something else was happening, and I was going to find out what. I went through Derek's social media, every photo, every comment, every tagged post. That's when I noticed a girl named Melissa who'd been commenting on his stuff for months. Lots of heart emojis, lots of inside jokes. I clicked on her profile and found pictures of her and Derek together, at restaurants, at parks. She was tagging locations from a city 2 hours away. He'd been cheating the entire time, while planning a wedding, while pretending to be excited about marrying Claire. He'd been seeing someone else. I took screenshots of everything, every photo, photo, every flirty comment, every piece of evidence I could find. Then I started looking into his job. He'd just gotten hired at this company that was really big on family values and integrity. It was all over their website. They talked about trust and honesty like it was their brand. I found their HR email and I sent them everything. Every screenshot, a full explanation of what Derek did. How he left my sister at the altar after cheating on her and then publicly humiliated her online. I didn't know if they'd care, but I figured it was worth trying. Meanwhile, I sat down with Claire and told her we needed to do something. Not revenge exactly, something better. I told her Derek had already made this public by posting about it. She deserved to tell her side. She didn't want to at first. She said she just wanted to disappear, but I convinced her that staying silent meant letting his version be the only version. So she started writing. She created a blog called Starting Again, and she wrote about everything. About standing in that dressing room waiting for a groom who never came. About reading his post calling her boring. About what it feels like when someone you love makes you feel worthless. But she didn't just write about the pain. She wrote about what she was learning. About red flags she'd ignored. About how being left was devastating but also maybe a blessing. About rebuilding yourself when everything falls apart. She hit publish, not expecting much. But the post went viral, like actually viral. Within days, it had hundreds of thousands of shares. People were commenting about their own experiences. News sites started writing articles about it. The abandoned bride who turned her pain into empowerment. Claire started getting messages from companies wanting to work with her. Podcasts wanted interviews. Magazines wanted her story. She went from a heartbroken teacher to someone with a platform. And while that was happening, Derek's life was imploding. About 2 weeks after Claire's post blew up, I got a DM from someone named Melissa, the same girl from the photos. She said she'd seen Claire's blog and she needed to talk. Turns out, Derek had told Melissa he was single, said he'd just gotten out of a long relationship and wasn't looking for anything serious. They'd been dating for 5 months. She had no idea about the wedding, no idea about Claire. She found out when she saw the viral blog post. She was furious. She sent me their text messages, photos they'd taken together, proof that Derek had been lying to both of them the entire time. She wanted Claire to know the truth. I showed Claire everything. I thought she might break down again, but instead she just looked tired, like this confirmed something she already suspected. She asked if she could talk to Melissa and I connected them. They talked for over an hour. And after that conversation, Claire wrote another post. This one about how Derek hadn't just gotten cold feet. He'd been living a double life, lying to 2 women at the same time, playing them both. That post got even more attention than the first, and that's when Derek's company fired him. They released a statement saying after an internal review, Derek no longer represented their values. They didn't name him directly, but everyone knew. The company that prided itself on integrity had cut him loose. Derek tried to save face online, posted that everyone was overreacting and that mistakes happen, that Claire was milking this for attention, but it just made him look worse. People tore him apart in the comments. His friends stopped talking to him. His family was embarrassed. He deleted all his social media accounts. But the damage was done. Claire, meanwhile, was thriving. She got a book deal, started speaking at events about resilience and self-worth. She became an advocate for people who'd been left or betrayed. She was on morning shows, in magazines, making real money doing something that mattered. 6 months later, she had a speaking event at a big conference. Derek showed up. I don't know how he found out about it, but he came to the venue and tried to get in. Security stopped him. He said he needed to apologize to Claire, that he'd made a mistake. The event coordinator told Claire he was outside. She could have had them remove him, but instead she went out there. I went with her because there was no way I was letting her face him alone. He looked awful, like he hadn't slept in weeks. He started rambling about how sorry he was, how he didn't know what he was thinking, how he missed her and made the biggest mistake of his life. Claire let him finish. Then she said something I'll never forget. She thanked him, said if he'd married her, she would have spent years with someone who didn't value her, someone who lied and cheated and made her feel small. She said leaving her was actually the best thing he could could have done because it forced her to become someone stronger. She said she forgave him, not because he deserved it, but because she didn't want to carry that weight anymore. Then she walked back inside and gave her speech. Derek just stood there watching her go. It's been over a year now. Claire's completely different. She's confident in a way she never was before. Her blog turned into a full business, helping people through breakups and major life changes. Her book comes out next month. She's even dating someone new, someone who actually shows up. Derek? Last I heard, he moved to a different state, started over where nobody knows his name. I hope he learned something from all this, but honestly, I don't really think about him anymore. Neither does Claire. What he did was cruel, but what Claire built from it was incredible. She took the worst moment of her life and turned it into something that helps thousands of people. She proved that when someone tries to break you, the best response is becoming so strong they regret ever underestimating you. Derek thought abandoning Claire would ruin her. He didn't expect her to rise from it bigger than before. That's what happens when you underestimate someone. They surprise you, and by the time you realize what you lost, it's too late to get it back. Hit subscribe for more stories like this. Retry.